Hey, how's it going, do-it-yourselfers? Today we're going to talk about some do's and don'ts when using rattle cans to paint a panel on your car. So yeah, as you may remember, the hood on this car had flaky paint, and if you're a subscriber to my channel, you probably know that in one of my previous videos, I showed you how you can turn that flaky paint into this using nothing but rattle cans. Now, that video ended up being pretty popular. As a result, there was also a lot of questions in the comment section. So I'm going to go over those questions and also give you some more tips and tricks that you can use to have a good finish when using rattle cans to paint your car. Now, one of the common questions was, what could you do to have the paint come out less streaky? And if you look at this paint job at a certain angle, I'm going to try to get you guys at the right angle. If I can, you can see there's just a little bit of streaks, especially in this area. It's going to be hard with the reflection of the ceiling, but if you look at it at the right angle, you can see some streaks going down the center especially. Now, having streaks or not in the base coat is going to greatly depend on what type of paint you're spraying. If you're spraying solid colors or metallic. Now, as you can see, this is a metallic paint, which means there's generally aluminum powder mixed with the base coat that gives you this nice, shiny, metallic color. Now, the problem with metallic paint whenever you're spraying them out of a spray can is, for one, your fan area is going to be limited. It's not going to be the same as a high volume, low pressure spray gun. The other problem is the paint coming out of the spray can is not going to come out super even. It's usually a little bit thicker towards the edges on the top and the bottom. And of course, the biggest problem and the most obvious one is that no matter how many times you shake the can, as soon as you stop shaking it, the aluminum powder is going to want to settle towards the bottom of the can. And as a result, you're going to have less metallic paint, let's say, in some areas, and more metallic looking paint in other areas. So yeah, that's kind of the problem with metallic paint out of a spray can. But good news for me at least, and probably most of you, is that if you have cars with solid paint, like this Honda Prelude with this white solid paint, or this Corvette that will get a complete paint job in the future, or this Audi RS6, which has a solid red color, you're simply not going to have the same problem as you do with metallic colors. The base coat is going to go on pretty good, nice and flat, and you're not going to be able to see it. You know, if you do everything correctly, you do all the prep work that we talked about in my previous video and everything else right, once you spray the solid base on the panel and let it dry, you're not going to see any streaks. And once you spray the clear coat, it's going to look perfect. Now, the next question was, could you wet sand the base coat before you apply the clear coat with 2000 grit sandpaper to have it come out flat and less streaky as a result? If you were to wet sand metallic base coat before you go to apply your clear coat, you're going to actually put more grooves and more streaks into the base coat because, again, it has that aluminum powder. There's no way you're going to be able to remove the correct amount of that metallic powder in the right spots and not remove the metallic powder in the other spots that don't need to be removed in order to come out perfect and not have any streaks. You're actually going to probably end up making it look worse because, you know, that sanding area, the sanding motion itself is going to put just tiny amount of imperfections into the base coat, and then you're probably going to have something like both streaks and sanding marks or sanding block marks in your base coat. Now again, with a solid color base coat, it's doable, but I don't recommend it. By the way, if you want to see a video on how to repair deep scratches on this Honda, make sure you subscribe. Because you shouldn't have any streaks or any imperfections in your base coat if you have a solid color. That is, if you did all the prep work correctly. You know, you applied the right primer, you sand that down with the right grit sandpaper, and you know, you went over the whole panel with a tack cloth, all the prep work that needs to be done before you apply your base coat. If you did everything correctly, then you apply your base coat, your solid color base coat. There shouldn't be no streaks, no imperfections. You shouldn't have to do wet sanding to that base coat to make it completely flat. Now, some still like to wet sand the base coat before they apply the clear coat, even though their base coat is a solid color and it looks fine, because in their mind, you know, it reduces the chance of orange peel and they get a much better finish. Now, in my opinion, that's not necessary either, because if you applied the base coat correctly and you waited the right amount of time between each coat and also use a tack rag to wipe down the panel between each coat, you know, and also you applied the clear coat correctly, the chances of having orange peel or a whole lot of orange peel is minimized greatly. Now, in our case, we had a whole lot of orange peel because, you know, it wasn't because we didn't wet sand the base coat. It was because we were spraying at the garage door. It was a windy day. The wind was blowing, and, you know, the conditions weren't right for spraying clear coat. But we did it anyway because I was going to wet sand and polish the car, the panel afterwards. And as you saw, it came out pretty good anyway. And also there's one big problem with wet sanding base coat is that one, you need to wait for that panel to completely dry before you can apply your clear coat. And there's a window between how much you can wait after applying your base coat where you can apply your clear coat. It's usually between 1 hour up to 24 hours, I think. It's gonna vary depending on the paint manufacturer, but there is a window there. So, if you wet sand, you spray your base coat and then a few hours later, you wet sand it and wait 2 days and then you go apply your clear coat, you're gonna have adhesion problems. Your clear coat is not gonna stick to the base coat and you're gonna be back to square one where you have peeling clear coat. Yeah, when you wait the correct amount of time between your base coat and clear coat, you'll have not only a mechanical bond between the base coat and clear coat, but you'll also have a chemical bond between the two coats. There's also no technical data sheet that I'm aware of where it recommends or actually demands that you wet sand the base coat before you apply the clear coat. If there is, leave a comment in the comment section and I'll check it out. And for those of you that have done this and haven't had a problem, I'm gonna assume that you don't live in a hot climate like I am in Southern California. First, second, maybe you've only had the car for a few years and it's not gonna fail overnight. It may take longer, but still, it's not a good bond. And actually, the best way to minimize orange peel in your clear coat, besides the obvious, which is don't spray outside on a windy day, is to spray on a test panel at the same temperature or the same time, nearly the same time that you're about to spray on the panel itself. You adjust the fan if your nozzle is adjustable, and you make a couple of passes, pick the one that has the least amount of orange peel, and go from there. Again, make sure you tack down the base coat between each coats, and you should minimize the orange peel that way. That's the best way to minimize orange peel. Now, the other comment was, why didn't I remove the hood from the car? After all, it's only a few bolts on each side, and you can remove the hood. Well, for starters, that requires 2 people. The other problem is there is actually a lot of fiddling that goes with it when you go back to put it on the car if you want all these spacing to come out even on both sides and your car not looking like it has been in an accident. So yeah, as you may remember in my video where I showed you how you can check out a used car for buying, these spacing between the body lines is very important, that it's even all the way around. And the other problem is where you're gonna put it. All my benches in the shop, they all have had engine oil, transmission oil, all sorts of chemicals on them, which are super bad whenever you're spraying base coat, clear coat, and they can ruin your paint job. And obviously, the best stand is with the hood still attached to the car. And the other thing is, covering the other panels is super easy. If you have those plastic sheets that I showed you, you just throw the plastic sheet over the car, you get a razor blade, you cut right between the panels, you tape it. It takes all less than 10 minutes. So I don't know, if you want to remove the hood and then reinstall it, be my guest. So yeah, just to add everything up, solid colors with spray cans will come out quite good if you follow the instructions in my videos. The metallic colors will also come out pretty good, but there will be some streaking. I do not recommend you wet sand it. Instead, try to concentrate more on the prep work. Apply the primer correctly, wet sand that down, and make that flat. You use the right grit sandpaper for that. Apply the base coat correctly. Go use the tack rags between the coats, and then use a test panel for the clear coat if you really want to reduce the chances of orange peel. But no matter what you do, you'll almost always have just a little bit of orange peel, especially whenever you're spraying out of a spray can. So yeah, just think about it. As I said in my last video, if the drug addicts and alcoholics at your local auto body shop can spray paint your car, so can you. And on that inspiring note, we're gonna wrap this up. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more like it. And also in the meantime, you can check out my other videos, links on this side of the screen, in the suggestion box, also in the description box as well. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.